Councilor Smith.
Thank you. There's been a lot of talk on this. I know I voted against a few of the contracts, and this is one that I'm in favor of, and I'll give my reasons as to why, because I've got a lot of phone calls, both in favor of and against this contract. First, the biggest misconception that is out there is that these guys are getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Those officers are gone. They were taking a benefit that a previous council had the foresight to say, similar to what we are here, it's unsustainable, you can't continue down that path, and it was taken out. We did a matrix report, and we said one of the biggest cost factors that we had control of in our city budget was overtime. And when we sat down and came up with what we were going to be doing about overtime, and we as a council came together and we set the guidelines for negotiations. We set some rules and how you're going to play this game out. And sometimes it is a game. But one of the things we said is, and we came back and we turned down contract after contract after contract because we said there's not enough in overtime reform. And I know there are probably other unions that we're negotiating with that are probably not too happy with this, because one of the things that is in here is that hours worked. That is a huge, significant savings to the city. Also, to be able to have the savings of that they now only have to go to the first 15 minutes. We have to realize that these dedicated officers are out there working on every holiday, and they can't just go, oh, I got to leave, and let the criminal go down the street, or not finish their job, because then it might get to some court case and the whole thing thrown out. Then what are we doing? I had one person bring up the uniform. Very upset. How can we pay for their uniforms? Because I happen to know of a few of the officers that have come home at the end of their day with, not come home, forgive me for saying that, getting back to the station with their shoes drenched in blood. Find out it's hepatitis C. It's now a medical waste. Who's going to replace those shoes? We're going to ask them to do that as well? They're doing their job. They get in a fight. They get a uniform torn. Now what do? Then it comes to what they have for days off. What a big misconception this one is. 63 days off, I've been told that they get off. They work every holiday. They do get paid for them. 11 and a half days. Same as most in the private sector. But I don't know, I've driven through, when I just went to the Thanksgiving football game and heading back home, I still saw officers on the street. They were still doing their job. Sick leave, they're no longer entitled to have a buyout of them. Those days are gone. They can get 15 a year. But if they use more than 3, they can't even come back to work unless they have a doctor's note. So you have to prove that you're actually using it. Personal days. And these, by the way, are not just written in the contract. You have to understand the department. And one of the things I was happy I went through was the Citizens Police Academy, because I got to realize exactly what their job is. And I still ask other members of this council, if you haven't even done a ride-along with them, you should do it. Learn their job. Personal days, they're allowed 4. They're only allowed to take it if it's not going to cause overtime. That's in the SOP. Comp time. Comp time was added a while ago so that we don't have overtime, and again, keeping expenses down. So if they had to stay and do a job or have another detail, they can get the time comped to them at a later time. Annual leave. They say, oh, they get 20 days. You can't take more than 2 weeks. If you want to take more than 2 weeks, if you want to take some more time, you have to make sure, according to their SOP, and I have the pages here if you'd like to see them, you have to be able to make sure you're not causing overtime. There's so many things that go into a contract, and this is one that's been negotiated for years. And if anyone thinks we're just giving out money, it's not. I'm extremely fiscally conservative when it comes to every matter that's up before us. We do not have a salary increase in these contracts. Let me say that again. There is not a salary increase in this contract. There is a COLA. Whether you like the formula or not, it is the one that we have been using in this city. That's the one. And the reason why they get a short time, they get an increase, and then they get another one for the rest of this fiscal year, is because we, as a council, in our rules of engagement said, if you will continue to faithfully negotiate in goodwill and spirit with us, this is what we'll put on the table for you. And this is the one contract that did that. And now we're supposed to change the rules and make liars out of us? I won't do it. I think this is a good contract. And remember, it's only 16 employees of the ranking officers. This is not the entire police department, because that's also what I've heard. This is going to raise the cost because it's the entire department. It's not. One union. But again, the most important thing I have to point out is by getting the hours worked is now going to set stages for our other contracts. And those are going to be the significant changes that in the significant savings that this city is going to see, just as the City Council did back in '96 when they did away with accumulated overtime. And one more point. We do not control what happens at the state level when it comes to their retirement package. And I think there was one misinformation kept out, and please, Attorney Flaggard, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it the last 3 years of their employment or their 3 best years?
3 best.
Thank you.